You know, there are towns that ban fireworks, towns that ban loud cars, sure. But this is about one American town that took a long, hard look at the 7-day week and decided one of them just had to go. So let's find out why they decided to declare war on a weekday. This is what happens when a group of ordinary folks, armed with just a hunch and a few minor inconveniences, try to, well, outlaw a day of the week. And I'm not kidding, they were completely serious about it.
Okay, so our story begins in a place you've probably driven right through without even noticing it, the town of Briar Glen. Briar Glen is, the kind of town where the biggest news is that things are quiet. It's got one of those diners that claims to have the world's best coffee. It was fine. And a town slogan on the water tower that just perfectly captures its whole vibe. Briar Glen, we're here. Just existing. So how in the world does a town this unremarkable decide to take on time itself? Well, it didn't kick off with some big disaster. Nope. It all started with what the town later called an omen of inconvenience.
It all went down on one single fateful Tuesday. First, the high school mascot costume ripped right down the seam. Then, the mayor's microphone cut out mid-speech. And to top it all off, a delivery truck kind of gently bumped the welcome sign. Look, none of these were catastrophes, but all of them happening together, it planted a very dangerous seed. And right here, this kind of tells you everything you need to know about the town's unique worldview. See, in Briar Glen, a string of minor, totally unrelated mishaps isn't just bad luck. Oh no, it's an omen. It's a clear sign that something is fundamentally wrong with Tuesday.
All right, so let's track how this thing builds. I mean, it goes from a simple hunch whispered over coffee to this full-blown town-wide hostility toward a day of the week. The movement really got its start, like most small-town movements do, right there in a diner booth. It was there that a local named Donna just threw down the gauntlet with a question nobody could seem to answer. Name one good thing that ever happened on a Tuesday. And in that silence, an idea was born. So this is the crucial part. This is just how Briar Glen solves problems. Let's call it the Briar Glen method. First, you take a pattern that you think you see. Then you add a really compelling personal story. And then, and this is the secret sauce, you add absolutely no data whatsoever. It's a foolproof recipe for civic chaos. And here we have the physical proof of the town just losing the plot. An evidence board popped up in the diner. It had photos, napkins with Tuesday equals bad scribbled on them, even a map trying to track Tuesday's path through town like it was a hurricane. I mean, it was a masterpiece of confirmation bias. And then, the town's last real hope for reason, the librarian, well, she accidentally threw gasoline on the fire. She just mentioned, historically speaking, Tuesday is named after a war god. Now, she meant it as a fun fact, but all Briar Glen heard was that one word, war. And just like that, Tuesday wasn't just suspicious anymore, it was hostile. This all leads to the inevitable next step in American civic life, right? The vote against time. This is that magical moment where a feeling becomes official paperwork. At a town hall meeting, Mayor Pike tried to laugh the whole thing off. He joked, "What do you want me to do? Ban Tuesday?" But what he meant as a joke, just a lighthearted way to calm everyone down, the town heard as a serious proposal. A genuine offer was on the table. And so, a committee was formed. This is always how you know things are getting real. They called it the Briar Glen Temporal Wellness and Adjustment Committee. Because, nothing makes nonsense sound more professional than giving it a really, really long name. The committee got right to work, and their official plans were, well, they were creative. Plan 1, just rename Tuesday to Second Monday. Maybe that would make it less threatening. Plan 2, declared optional. Plan 3, replace it entirely with a new day called Snack Day. And the fan favorite, Plan 4, just skip it. Just skip Tuesday entirely like a bad song on a playlist. So when the librarian brought up some pretty valid concerns about scheduling problems, the committee was totally unfazed. As Donna so confidently put it, nature will heal. They really truly believe that if they just voted hard enough, reality itself would bend to their will. And you know what? They did vote. And by a really narrow margin, they banned Tuesday.
Which brings us to the moment of truth, the very first Not Tuesday, where their little local ordinance came face to face with the unyielding laws of the universe.
And hey, to their credit, they really tried to make it work. The diner, for example, dutifully changed its sign for the Tuesday special to the Definitely Wednesday meatloaf, a noble, if completely doomed effort.
But the cracks in the plan started to show almost immediately. Over at the local school, a teacher announced the new day, only for a student to raise their hand and ask the one devastatingly simple question that unraveled the whole thing. But yesterday was Monday. How do you even argue with that logic?
Then, when a resident complained that the mail truck was still running on the old Tuesday schedule, the postal clerk delivered maybe the most profound line of the entire saga. She just said, "The truck doesn't care." And that's the core of it, right? Your town's rules don't exactly apply to the rest of the world.
Yeah, the whole experiment collapsed in about 2 weeks. Missed appointments, confused sports teams, just general chaos. It was time for the lesson from Briar Glen and a very quiet, slightly embarrassed return to normal. At an emergency town meeting, it was the librarian who finally offered the most radical solution of all. She proposed that they stop blaming an innocent day of the week for all their problems and instead just manage their own schedules. A shocking call for personal responsibility.
So what did Briar Glen learn from all this? Well, first, that any coincidence can become a prophecy if you stare at it long enough. Second, a committee can and absolutely will form around literally any shared emotion. And most importantly, Tuesday isn't cursed, it's just there. And that really concludes the story of the only time in American history a town tried to cancel a weekday. And time, the universe, and the Postal Service all replied with a very firm, unified message: absolutely not.